Today I'm going to upgrade the wireless charging station for my phone that's here in the center front console of my Rivian. I have an R1S, the first generation. Now if you have a Rivian, or if you're at least familiar with one, you'll know one of the worst things about this whole car is this little charging station. It's awful for a lot of different reasons, and it's actually something they addressed and improved quite a bit on the Generation 2, but that doesn't help you if you have the Gen 1. There's no little center divider, so as you can see here, this little area is just wide open, so if your phone is on here, it just kind of bounces around as you drive. The second thing is, it's a very weak charger to begin with, so I'm gonna put my phone here on a complete black screen, set it down here, and if you'll notice, at no point is it sitting there will it come on. Now sometimes you get lucky and it does come on, but through a case, an OtterBox type case like this phone will not charge. And so if it does make some kind of connection, it charges so slow, it actually loses battery faster than it charges it, and then it gets hot on top of that. So today's upgrade, I'm installing this here to replace the mat that you have here, which in theory will charge my phone faster, we'll see, but also gives it some cool little upgrades, some lighting upgrades in addition. Here we go. Before we get started, here's the unboxing. So I got this from a company called EV Base, which I've gotten a lot of things from, including the running boards I put on the Rivian earlier. So as you saw in that unboxing, this is a one-piece setup. There's no adapters, no tools needed, nothing like that. It's just one piece and that's all. This should make for a pretty simple install. Now the first step I have to do is to remove the rubber mat that's there now. Now this will mess this piece up a little bit. It's not like you can't come back for it, but this little rubber mat is going to be glued down, or fastened down I should say, with some tape to the little plastic below. Just know this, when you pull it out, you are likely going to, at least to some extent, to destroy this, but that's okay. You replace it with a new one. Just know that going in. Now it might help to have some kind of a little bit of a knife to be able to just get underneath this a little bit. I've tried it from several different spots. I think this little front lip is what's easiest. And if you can get in there and get this out just enough, then you can get your fingers underneath and start pulling this out. You can hear that tape. And once this is pulled up, you can just kind of see it just really pulls right out. Nothing much to it. I do think it's a little bit easier to work on this with these opens. You saw me open these earlier, but I'm going to close these just for now so you can see this at a little better angle. Next step is there's actually 3 little clips in the front of this. Now it's possible to use it with your fingers and really you're just pulling it back, but I think it's a lot easier if you get a flathead screwdriver and get behind these little individually. So I did pry, as I described, at all 3 of these points and they would all catch. But beyond these 3 little clips, the whole little thing is really stuck really well down into the spot, and eventually here I had to use a screwdriver to actually pry it up and out. Now some of this could have been all the crumbs and junk I had in there, but I literally had to work it out, as you can see here, physically prying it out. Once you get the tip out, then it just kind of almost really falls out. Now for what it's worth, that was a little bit more difficult than I was expecting. It was down in there pretty good. So I don't know how I would have done that with my fingers. You almost have to have a little flathead screwdriver, and maybe even 2. And it's not like I have to be too crazy careful with this because we are replacing this entire thing with the replacement one. Now I'd probably be more careful of the little surrounding areas not to scratch these, because this part obviously is staying and that won't be covered once you put this in. So I'm more careful with this than I am with this. So once you have this here, first of all, you realize, geez, how many crumbs are down in there? But then you realize I just have this one thing to do. I have to unplug this here. There's a little tab down below here. I think I can get this pretty easy with my thumb. You push that down and this is just gonna come right out. Like so. Now quite simply, we're gonna install the new one. You can see here, there's a little port here on the bottom side. This is gonna plug into. The cord you just came out. Again, the little button's gonna be up, obviously. It's gonna slide into place here. Clicks in. Flip it around, you can immediately see my little setting light came on. But to understand how you're putting this back in, might actually understand how you got this one out in the first place. The new one, just like the old one, had these little notches that actually go in little holes here in the back. So you're kind of scooping this in and then setting it into place. So when I was pulling this out, I needed to kind of lift this up, but then kind of out at that same time. Again, moving these clips in, moving these all in so they're not catching on the lip, then pulling this up, then all out like this. So I'm gonna put this new one back in the same way, getting these little nubs here down into these little holes, and then kind of flipping this down into place like so. And actually quite easily, it just snaps into place. It went in much easier than it came out. And by the way, it's raining on behind me, and so my legs are getting kind of wet. So as you can see, it's already a visual improvement, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring us back at night to get a better kind of recording of this, and then I'll give you that full review of what I'm expecting. But already just now, someone who doesn't use a wireless charger very much, because I'm always using that big case, I like the look of it much better, and especially how it divides it out. That little notch in the middle is very helpful. All right, so I'm back in the car here at night. More importantly, it stopped raining. Now, I actually pulled into a little bit of a parking garage here to make this a little bit easier. I thought it would show up better in the video. And I wanted to get this in the dark to show you some of the lighting features this has. And once I'm all done showing you the lighting, I'll give you just a real quick review of what do I think about it. So at initial glance, it looks like it's just the same, not too much different, except for, of course, you can see it has a little bit of a texture. That part's really nice. Split down the middle, which I'll get into more, which separates and allows two phones to charge at once, which the original really just didn't allow you to do. Now, if you notice up front, there's that little blue light, which is, I would think, is like the gear for like a setting symbol. That's actually what changes your different color modes. Flip this around and show you a few of them. All right, so there's our little charger. So as I touch this little thing, see initially it turns on white. There's actually six different colors it runs. Touch it again. There's your red color. Red's kind of my color that I usually go to. There's the green, of course, a little more of a yellow, a purple, a blue, and this one looks like, okay, this is your first mode where the color is going to be running. A really slow, gradual changing of the colors. Can I see it there? Pretty cool. Press it again. See, it's going to be a little bit slower change of a color. Then this is one's the quick, like one after another change, just runs through those 6 colors over and over and over. And this one's just like a running colors. You can kind of see it's like the colors running around in circles, like kind of like a slow run. Press it again, it goes off. Then one more quick run through of all the different colors and all the different modes. So hopefully that shows up in the video for you as well as it does in person. Now again, that's not like a total game changer, but honestly it's kind of cool. It's a little bit of a party trick to be able to show your guests, and it just lights up and shows you at night exactly where to set your phone. Now one thing that's really cool about this is its additional charging ports. Now, yes, you have one down in here, a Type-C, but this gives you 2 additional Type-Cs up front and also a USB. Now if you're road tripping, especially if you have multiple people in your car, kids and stuff like that, you can't have enough chargers. So having 3 additional ones is nice, and especially that USB. Now I know the whole world's gone to that Type-C, but a lot of things out there, a lot of cords out there are still that USB, and you don't have an option to charge anything USB here in the car. Well, you didn't until now. So that's actually a huge benefit of this also. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a really, really nice texture in that little kind of like a design that shows you like this is where you charge your phone, makes it really obvious. And it's kind of like a really clean, neat, almost like a much more luxurious look than just that textured rubber mat you had before. Now let's talk about the charging. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that this is worlds better, because it's not, but that being said, it was a little better. I think the biggest reason it's better is because it has this little divider down here in the middle, very much like the Generation 2 has. And what that does is just keeps your phone still. That previous one, as we started off with here, was just completely flat, and that was part of the problem. Unless your phone was very grippy and very textured, it would bounce around, and even if it was, it would still move around as you drove. And that was part of the problem, is it was constantly breaking connection of that charger, and that caused it to go off and on. And not only was it not actually charging, that going off and on caused it to generate heat, which actually made it lose battery faster. So this solves that problem in addition. Really cool feature. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I've got a few more Rivian accessories coming your way. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.